continue to challenge yourself and learn something new and fail over and over and over again in a place outside of dance. Because dance can hold such an immense amount of pressure for us all. Do it outside of that, and that those mindset shifts that happen because of that will slowly make their way into dance, and it will help you just be able to cope better.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Steps, produced by Apollo Performance and Turning Point Dance Creations. This month, we're diving into a topic that lives quietly beneath the surface of dance culture, but is extremely relevant: performance pressures and perfectionism. We're joined by our friend, Kristin Deiss, who has so generously joined us pretty much for every season of Beyond the Steps at this point. And today we're starting at the root: why dancers feel such a relentless need to excel even when they're already succeeding. So Kristin, welcome back, and we're excited to dive in.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back. I will chat all day long about dance and the mind, and I'm excited to get going.
And for everybody out there, I did not mention Kristin is the co-founder, along with our friend Michelle Lucadou, of Danscend. They tackle mental health for dancers and all the things under that umbrella. So check them out as well. And we'll give you more information on that as the episodes go on.
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of great information to share, new things coming from them. But first, we want to talk about this topic. Dancers are so often labeled as high achieving, disciplined, and driven. But what do you see, Kristin, as the deeper forces driving that pressure beneath the surface?
Yeah, it's usually tied to anxiety, actually. And there was a meta-analysis of 121 studies of young people, and it found that perfectionistic concerns, things like when we worry about mistakes or when we feel the pressure to be perfect, which a lot of dancers feel, were correlated with symptoms of anxiety. And that, for me, in my own experience, and as a dancer myself and as a teacher watching my students, I feel like that pressure really comes from that place of anxiety.
Yeah, I would say into adulthood now that I'm raising my own kids and I have sort of stepped away from that part of my career, I definitely see the residual of that, right? The anxiety, the perfectionism. I'm recognizing it, which is a big step. But I mean, I'm in my 40s, and like I'm just starting to tackle all the ways that has sort of creeped in to grab a hold of my life. So this is a very real thing that affects, I would say, most of the dance community, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and there's different, that pressure, those perfectionistic tendencies can come from different places. Like, on one side, they can come in from internally. Like, I feel the need to be perfect. I want to do a good job. I don't want to mess up. And it can also come from external pressures. My teacher needs me to be perfect. My studio needs me to bring home this award at this competition. My parents need me to do really well. My family, because they've paid for all of my dance classes. This is not, an inexpensive thing. And so all of those pressures, especially the external ones, can be exacerbated in today's society because all anybody has to do, dancer or non-dancer, is pick up one of these and see images nonstop of these perfect, quote unquote, lives and these perfect lines and these perfect images and these perfect videos of all of this stuff, and think, well, if they're that good, then I have to be that good, because how am I going to break through the noise? How am I going to get cast? How am I going to have a job in this industry? How am I even going to be seen if I'm not just as good, if not better?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, because it can be a motivator, right? There's a fine line here between, fake versus reality, and motivating versus causing anxiety, right? So at what point when you see somebody doing great things, you're like, oh, that God, I need to level up. Like, I can do that. I want to do that. I can do that. I'm going to do that, right? At what point does healthy motivation shift into something more harmful? And how can dancers and parents recognize that line?
Yeah, I think, there's this like belief that if you're a perfectionist, you just have high standards, and what's wrong with that? And there is nothing wrong with having high standards. I think a lot of people should celebrate the fact that they have high standards. If you are super disciplined and you care about what you do and you want to do a good job, that's wonderful and that's beautiful. And sometimes people assume that when we say, okay, perfectionism can sometimes be harmful, they're like, oh, no. I need those benchmarks. I need to, raise the bar. I need to expect great things from myself. And that's all wonderful. But when those expectations go from doable to just flat out impossible, that's where it becomes unhealthy, because you are just setting yourself up for failure and disappointment. Because when you raise the bar to a place that is impossible to go, then all you're doing is just setting yourself up for disappointment. So, that impossible bar, quote unquote, can look different for different people. Most generally, it's when you have goals that are completely outside of your control. You can work to achieve those things, absolutely. But if all you're looking at is that final goal, so for instance, I'm going to take home first place at YAGP. That's the only thing on your radar. You are not in control of that. And that is an impossible goal in terms of what you can and cannot control. What you can.
So you're saying versus setting like micro goals to get to, right? Like
what you can control, where your perfectionism can be healthy, is saying, you know what, I have, say, 8 rehearsals until we're at YAGP. I can control, to the best of my ability, showing up 20 minutes early to each of those rehearsals and working on those 16 counts that always stump me of choreography. Or I have, I'm noticing that I'm really losing strength in my rotators. I keep getting the same feedback. Use your rotation more. So for 3 days of those 8 weeks, 3 days every week of those 8 weeks, I'm going to do 15 minutes of my rotator exercises. Things like that we can control. And when we write them down and we name them and they are in our control, the healthy perfectionism can lead us to actually doing those things and keeping ourselves accountable. And unhealthy perfectionism is saying, well, I'm going to take home first place. That's all that matters. It's not all that matters, because we're not in control of that. All those other things. And again, I want to say this because I think it's so important. Having big goals is not a bad thing. Wanting to win is not a bad thing. I think sometimes we have swung so far the other direction of this place where, everybody was so cutthroat and we just wanted to win. And then we swung over to well, as long as you just try and you show up, everyone's a winner, and to a certain extent, yes. But at the end of the day, people are going to win and people are going to lose. This is what happens in a competition. At the end of the day, in the dance world, people are going to get cast, people are not. You're either going to get a call back at the audition or you're not. You're going to get into the summer program or you're not. And that is just a reality of life. And it is not bad to want to get those things.
I am a huge fan of this topic. I say all the time, there is nothing wrong with saying I want to win. Now, if that is the only thing you want to do, that might be problematic, but let's all claim it. We're not doing this to come in last place, right? Insert anything. I agree 100%. We have gotten, just have fun. Yes. All the things. If we're not having fun at this point, what are we even doing? But I want to win, and that is okay.
And that should be celebrated. That should be celebrated. If you have a competitive spirit, that's wonderful and beautiful. You have a fire that so many people wish they had. And if you have it, don't put it out, but learn how to manage it and learn how to control it, because that fire can be there as long as you take steps to make sure that you have other goals too that are in your control. Now, where this also can get tricky is, okay, so Kristin told me it's okay to want to win, And if I set goals like showing up early to my rehearsals or doing some extra exercises and strength conditioning stuff, like that's great. Well, sometimes our perfectionism though can creep into those goals we can control and turn them into impossible situations. Like, not only am I going to show up 20 minutes early every day for rehearsal, I'm also going to stay 30 minutes late for every rehearsal. I'm going to also take one more dance class every single day for those 8 weeks. And then we are just killing all chances of us ever actually getting to where we want to go because we've overdone it. So we really have to be mindful. And this is where parents can help their younger children. Sit with them and make sure that they are, working on things that they can control in like a human manner. I mean, none of us are superhuman. We just aren't. And if you are getting those, if people are telling you, I don't know how you do it. Like, I don't know how you do it all. That should be, something should go off in your brain. Like, I probably can't keep up this rate for a long time.
So that is a great lead in, because Melissa's next question is that. So Melissa, you had a question about this.
So how early do you see performance pressure showing up in dancers? And what are some of the subtle warning signs that adults often miss that we've kind of gone over to the dark side on this pressure and this perfectionism? How do we know when it's too much or it's gone too far, or that child is just challenged or pushing themselves?
Yeah, like what are we looking for here?
That's a great question. And to be very fair and honest, it ranges. It's different for everybody. If I were to give one general answer or one thing that you could look out for, it's pretty normal for someone to be upset if they don't win, or if they don't get into a school, or if they do, they don't have a good class. If you pick up your child and they're, they didn't have a great class, and they're like, and you're not a dance, you've never taken a dance class, you're just a parent, and they're saying things like, I wasn't on my leg. And you're like, you're standing on your legs. I have no idea what you're talking about, but they're all upset about it, like that's okay. It's okay to be upset with your performance after the performance, right? It shows a healthy level of like concern, and they're reflecting about it and they're talking through it. Here's the two places where it starts to become a concern. When they can't get out of that, when they stay there for far too long, that's a concern. It's not always necessarily like, oh, that's a dangerous place to be. It can become dangerous. We need to help them cope a little bit better moving out of that. But the place that really should be a warning sign is if they're already upset about something that hasn't happened yet. They're already upset that they're not on their leg, and we're still 2 weeks out from the competition. Or they're already so anxious and they keep talking about all the horrible things that are going to happen and what am I going to do? And they just can't get out of that state. And it hasn't even happened yet. It's great to talk through things and prepare. It's wonderful to say, okay, if this happens, here's how I'm going to handle it. If this thing happens, here's how I'm going to handle it. But when it starts to sort of affect their ability to properly prepare, because they're so nervous, they're so anxious, they're so in their head about it all going downhill, and we haven't even gotten there yet, that's problematic. And it's going to turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy, because now it's getting in the way of them preparing. So that's really a sign you should look for as a parent, is like, how are they doing before the big moments? How are they doing before the show? How are they doing before the audition? How are they doing before the competition, before even a class? Do they feel an immense amount of pressure that is breaking their ability to cope? Then we should do something about that, and we should talk about it and find some tools to help them.
This is just kind of changing topic a little bit, but why does good enough, right, feel so uncomfortable for so many dancers, even when they're doing objectively well? Like, you'll sit back and look like, oh, they're pretty good. Like, and in their mind, it's not good enough. Why?
I mean, anyone that cares deeply about what they do, I think can fall prey to this mindset. This can be someone who's running a business. This can be someone a parent who reflects on their own parenting. I wasn't good enough today with my kids. This can be a partner, a spouse reflecting on their relationship with their significant other. I wasn't good enough today. Our brains are hardwired to point out the negative, and we've talked about this before, I'm sure, with you all, where it's called negativity bias, and our brains are trying to keep us alive. Our brains are trying to, our brain's main job is to keep us alive. So it points out all the negative things so that we can steer clear of all that. It will always show you the places that you're not good enough. And it's just doing its job. And if we don't have strong enough beliefs to counteract that, if we don't have people in our lives helping us to create those beliefs that, you know what, I'm never going to feel like it's good enough because my brain is already wired to tell me it's not. It's like we have to be comfortable in that discomfort. We have to feel those things, like I wasn't good enough, and then be able to respond to it. They say that if you respond to yourself, don't they say something like, if you speak out loud, if you hear voices in your head, that's normal. But if you speak back to them, that's when you have to look out. I say that's phooey. Talk back to yourself all day long. Like your brain is going to tell you that wasn't good enough. And you can be like, yeah, but it was pretty darn good. Like it was better than yesterday. And maybe it wasn't better than yesterday, but at least I'm here doing it. I mean, there's a million ways you can respond. And that feeling of I'm not good enough might not ever go away. But that doesn't mean that it's true. Everything you think and every thought that comes through your head isn't necessarily truth. And that's a really hard thing to learn and to really believe, because it's like, well, if that's not true, then what is true? And you get to be the decider of that. That's the magical thing about being alive, is like we get to decide what our truth is. If you want to believe that wasn't good enough every single day of your life, you're not going to enjoy dance anymore. It's going to suck the joy out of what you're doing. If you can respond and say that might not always be true, it allows for room for compassion, being gentle with yourself so that you can continue to move forward. If you're always down on yourself, where's the incentive to want to do better?
One of the things that has helped me a lot in that area is like, this is not good enough for who? Who gets to determine that it's good enough? And that question, the answer to that is me. Like, oh, that wasn't good enough. Well, who said? Did the judges say that? Did my teacher say that? Did my mother, my husband, my friends, who said that? And I get to be the one that decides good enough today is good enough for today. And that's based on what I know about myself and the circumstances and my capacity. So we really have to and if you're passionate about something, your good enough bar is always going to be high. And at the point where your good enough bar is not high, then you might have to decide that you're going to do something else, because maybe that passion is not there for that.
Right. And then it's also a question of like, what is good? And I know, we could talk about this, and every dancer is going to roll their eyes and be like, when you've seen a good pirouette and when you've not seen a good pirouette. And yes, that is true. Like there is technique in this art form, but it's also an art form, and it is subjective, and people are casting and awarding awards based on all kinds of things, and not just, did you have perfect technique? So yeah, what is good changes to everyone all the time. So really, even asking ourselves that question, or like having that thought, it's not as black and white as it appears to be, because there's so many layers to it. So sometimes it's helpful for people, Melissa, like you mentioned, to ask those questions. Good enough to who? What does good even mean? What does it look like? And sometimes people are just like, yeah, no, I don't want to dive into it that much. And I just have to be okay with, yes, I always have room for growth, but I'm trying and I'm here. and that's good enough.
I want to give some practical advice to some of the dancers out there who are listening to this and going, that sounds a little bit like me. This seems like I'm going to the dark side of this. What is a practical mindset shift that they can make that might prevent them from that perfectionist mindset, that pressure that becomes harmful?
Yeah, I'm always a fan of action. For my personality, everyone's different. And I think dancers have that a little bit though in common. Like, we are doers. We like to move. We like to do. The internal for me, and for a lot of people in my life that I know, always sort of follows the doing. So my advice to make a mindset shift would be to start with an action that allows that mindset shift. And I would say, try learning something new and sucking at it, like real bad, like real bad. And it is such an uncomfortable place. It is an uncomfortable place for people who identify as perfectionists. It's an uncomfortable place for dancers who started dancing when they were like 3. And even if now they're 7, 9, 17, 27, they don't remember what it was like to be a beginner. They don't remember that they didn't know what a tendu was, or that they didn't have any turnout, or that somebody said tombe pas de règle side saut de chat and they went, huh? Right? So they don't remember that discomfort. Put yourself in a situation where you look like a fool, you are making mistakes left and right, because the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get. It will not necessarily be easier, but it won't be as foreign. It will be familiar, and it will help. It will help because, like I said, when you care about something deeply, you'll always have those thoughts. You'll always see the places that you fall short. You'll always see the places you can grow. And that's great. That's great. That's great feedback. But we have to be able to move through it and be okay with feeling uncomfortable. Like, I don't know that I did my best, or you know what, my best was good enough for today. And learning the piano and being really bad and just sticking with it, that's going to help. Or learning how to, I don't know, crochet and trying to make a scarf, and it turns out to be not anything close to a scarf, that's going to help. Like, continue to challenge yourself and learn something new and fail over and over and over again in a place outside of dance, because dance can hold such an immense amount of pressure for us all. Do it outside of that, and that those mindset shifts that happen because of that will slowly make their way into dance, and it will help you just be able to cope better.
I love that so much. And that is a great place to stop this segment. And you mentioned learning something new. So we also are all about education and resources on the show, as Danscend is. And we have created, and what was the catalyst for the show actually is a 5-part course series online. It's completely free, called the Steps Initiative Program. It's going to give you information, education, and resources on everything from sex abuse and prevention, nutrition, psychology, racism, gender inequities, and of course, dance medicine and science. You can go at your own pace. We have staff that take this. We have parents and dancers that take this. There's no limit to who can do it. And we encourage you to share. We're going to pop that link in the description for this episode. So make sure you take advantage of that, because it is a fantastic course. Kristin, tell everybody out there how they can get a hold of you, how they can work with Danscend, what you guys have going on, share all the things.
I most certainly will. You can find us at danscend.com. We just launched our brand new website this year. So you can go see our hard work. You can find us on Instagram at Danscend Official. And one of the things that we have just launched, one of our newest offerings, is called the Danscend Dance Teacher Library. It's a subscription-based service, and it is a library of resources at your fingertips, hundreds of resources, from informational videos to worksheets to classroom exercises to applied examples. And we know that teachers have a tremendous amount of influence on the mental wellness and health of their dancers, and we are trying to make it easy for teachers to feel prepared and feel supported in having that influence and giving them activities and things they can do with their dancers in the studios.
Fantastic. I love it. And do you guys do studio workshops? I always like to ask that so people.
We do studio workshops. Yep. We do in person and virtual. So if you're like, I don't want to talk to my dancers about this, we'll talk to your dancers about that. We're happy to talk to your dancers. We're happy to talk to your staff. We're happy to talk to your teachers. We do workshops. We also have certifications, and you can find all that information on danscend.com.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kristin Deiss of Danscend, for joining us to help kickstart this very important conversation. It feels validating to take a breath to say, wow, feeling this pressure is normal. It's something that everybody does. But next week, we're going to zoom in on the perfectionism itself, where it comes from, how dance culture reinforces it, and why letting go of it can feel so terrifying, even though we know it's bad for us. So episode 2 is where things get real. We're going to talk about the root causes, and we'll see you back next week for the second part of this conversation. And until then, we hope you enjoy